Woo!
Welcome back to the Lakely Man channel.
All right, so here we are again at the lake again, and kind of starting off a little bit like I did last time. It's windy again, not quite as windy as last time. You can see that we just got done having some rain. Everything's kind of wet around me. I think we're still going to launch here because it's not white capping, and I have a feeling it's going to calm down. I just got done wiping down the boat because there's a clay mine that we have to drive past. And whenever it's really rainy and wet, it gets muddy there, and that clay is horrible on your boat and your trailer. So I try to get it off as soon as I can. I'm gonna have to pressure wash the trailer when I get home after this. You can kind of see some of the clay on the cover right here, and I'll spray that off too. I'll show you where you can really see it is on the wheels. So I'm gonna have to clean that off. Let me see if I can show you some more here. Yeah, see on there, you can see all the clay dust there. And I didn't get the pipe, but I'll clean that later. These wheels look even worse. So I'll get a clip of the clay mine to show you what I'm talking about and insert it right here. I'm gonna hop in the truck because I'm guessing the wind noise might be kind of bad. It's actually kind of raining right now. It's kind of been just sprinkling on and off this morning. It looks like it rained a lot here, but at our property it really didn't rain much. It just sprinkled a little. Geez, it just sprinkled a little bit off and on this morning. It's pretty chilly out right now too, but like I said, it's supposed to get up to 80, so I'm thinking it might calm down. A couple weeks ago we launched when it was similar to this, and then at around like, I'd say 10 o'clock, it calmed down and I had a good hour-long wakeboard session, and then I did some surfing after that. So I'm kind of hoping it does that today, but I think we're gonna launch either way, and if it doesn't shape up out at my spot, then we might come up and I'll surf a bit in the canyon before we get off the water. Also, before last weekend's trip, I think I told you the water level rose about 5.5 feet in that week, and there was a bunch of crap in the water, you know, wood, debris from that last week, and still had a lot of fun. We had to do a lot of dodging. I'm kind of used to that this time of year, but in this last week, it's only come up about 1.5 feet, maybe up to 2 feet, and it actually just kind of stopped in the last like 24 hours. It's kind of just been bobbling at the same spot, which is about 0.85 feet from full pool. So it's basically full. Again, I think it's going to get a little bit, I think the level's going to come up a little bit more. But the good news is when it starts leveling off like that, usually the crap in the water goes away. So I'm guessing that today and maybe tomorrow, we won't be dealing with much debris in the water, which should be pretty good. So anyways, I'll catch back up with you when we're launching the boat. All right, we're launching. It's calmed down quite a bit. It's 10:15 right now. I'm hoping I get out to my spot and it's smooth enough to wakeboard, but if not, I'll do some surfing. Oh yeah, it's calming down pretty good out here. Water temperature is about the same as it was last weekend, 67. Not too surprising because I think it was windy yesterday, and that always turns the water over. And also we still got runoff coming in, so I would bet it'll be a little bit warmer next week. All right, we're out at the spot. I actually came down to this edge because sometimes, this kind of mountain range sort of hill right here can block the wind if it's coming from that direction. But it looks like the wind's going that direction right now if you look at the water. So I was kind of checking out that one because that one turns like this, and sometimes it's glass down there, but it looks like it's not quite glass down there. I'm gonna give it a little time to see if it'll smooth off. This definitely isn't very bad for surfing, but it's definitely rougher than I would care to wakeboard in right now. So if it doesn't smooth off here in the next half an hour or so, then I'll just do some surfing. Day 2 out here. As you could see in the last few clips, I did get to wakeboard yesterday, and I had a good amount of smooth water. Wasn't able to do as much as I wanted to yesterday, but I'm still getting my muscles in good shape, and I'm gonna hopefully find some smooth water today. But it's already kind of windy today, so, and the forecast kind of called for it. Yesterday was actually more surprising that it was windy early on, and it got super windy later after we got off the water. But we're gonna go out to the spot, check it out. Sometimes it calms down after an hour. If nothing else, I'll surf, because I didn't surf at all yesterday. I didn't really care to yesterday, but since I didn't do any surfing, I'll most likely do some surfing today, whether or not I wakeboard. So I'm gonna go ahead and pay attention and get us in the water. All right, I'm launched, and today is a much chillier day than yesterday. The high is only supposed to be 70. The air temperature right now is 63. And the water temperature is also 63, which is actually about 4 or 5 degrees colder than it was yesterday. So no big deal. As long as the water temp is in the 60s, it's usually pretty comfortable in a wetsuit, or at least mostly comfortable. My cutoff for getting in the water at all is usually like, I think it's either 110 or 120 degrees combined. But you know, this is actually late June, so with the sun out and everything, I'm not worried at all. The only thing I'm worried about is wind, which it's not crazy. You can kind of see this is definitely not too much wind for surfing, but a little too much wind for wakeboarding. But a lot of times it's totally different out at the spot, especially the way the direction of the wind right now. It's coming this way, and the spot that I wakeboard at, the mountains are all on that side, so I could see it being a lot better out there. But we'll see. Hoping I get a wakeboard set today. I'm trying to work on getting a few more tricks back. Still a little nervous with my knee, which I think is fine, and still having fun. All right, well, we're out at the spot. I kind of came down a ways because sometimes it's smooth down there, which I refer to as the Red Cliff Corner. But as you can tell, it's still windy. So we're just gonna hang out for a while, and if it doesn't shape up enough to wakeboard within about a, I don't know, hour and a half, then I'll probably just surf for a while and then that'll be it. It feels really weird today because it's like, you know, 64 degrees in the air, and the way the wind's blowing, it almost feels like it's a late September day. We actually don't have Wakely right now. It's just Carly there. She wanted to go hang out with the camp hosts today, which she's done that a few times here and there over the last few years, where they'll watch her while we go out. But yeah, today she really wanted to, so and we saw the camp house was down at the marina while we were launching, so we just let them take her because they like her company and she likes hanging out with them. So we'll go up there after we're done. we've actually been going up and visiting them almost every day, whether it's before we get on the water or after, just depending on wind. Yesterday we went up before and after because we were waiting out the wind before, and then after we got done we went up there. But a lot of times we'll go up there after we get done and hang out for a little while, because we used to camp here all the time, obviously, but now that we're in town, we do that. And then I think we're actually going to come back out tonight, though, because it's the camp host's birthday, and we got a surprise for her. All right, so we're back at the camper, done with day 2. As you could see, it was pretty windy and I didn't have an amazing surf set, but I had fun. I just wasn't doing great at getting tricks. I was actually just trying at a 3 and getting some air, and also trying to do the sit down surf thing, and couldn't even do that. But anyways, I bet there's quite a few people who have watched my channel over the last several seasons, and they've wondered what I'm doing when I fuel up my boat. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys right now what I do when I fuel up the boat after being at the lake, and I also will start cleaning the boat and throw the cover on while we're doing that. And since today was the last day of this trip, I also fill up the truck if I have enough gas in the tank, which I know I do because I only used, I don't know, probably 20% of the fuel in the boat today. So I'm going to show you what's going on. So to start out with, I've got this box right here. And I'm going to take this box over to the back of my truck. All right, so first of all, I'm sure there's going to be some people that say, Tim, what is this? And why don't you just have a pump on the top of your fuel tank? Well, I didn't want to have to unhook my truck. I wanted to be able to leave it hooked up to the trailer and then just pump fuel from there into the boat. So I made myself a little setup, and I'm sure there's going to be people that hate on how I did this, but I don't really care. It's worked for me for a lot of years, and there's only one little problem I've had, but I've learned how to make it work really well. So here's my cord. If because it is an electric pump. So for now I'm just going to set this right there. And here is my setup. Basically I've got, I think, about 30 feet of hose, and this is just clear hose that's got like a braiding in it so that it doesn't kink so bad, but it still does have the ability to kink. In fact, kind of see right where it comes out of the pump here. So start getting this out of here. This is just a water pump, and that is what people are going to hate on me for, because you're technically not supposed to use a water pump for fuel, for a few different reasons. That's actually one of the reasons I have duct tape right here, is because there's vents and there's little sparks that go on in there, so I just don't want any of the fuel. I have had fuel drip out of the back of this, because there's a little seal back here. In fact, the seal in the back of that looks kind of like this. This is a net, this is for the end of a hose, but it looks kind of like that. So, you know, I just duct tape this so that fuel's not getting to those sparks. And for the most part, it's all sealed, so it doesn't matter anyways. But you can see that this plate here is loose, and that's the trick that I figured out. There's a rubber impeller inside of here. In fact, I think I have one that's damaged, so just like this. But you can see this one's missing a fin. If you don't, after you're done, if you have this all sealed up and you don't unscrew it to let it vent and basically dry up the fuel that's in here, gasoline actually kind of eats at rubber. So that's basically what happens, is that it'll just ruin your impellers like this one. You can get replacement impellers, and I've done that several times, but I finally figured out all you got to do is make sure it's vented, and then that gasoline dries up and doesn't eat away at your rubber impeller. Sometimes your impeller can go out just because it's ready to go out too, but anyways, that's what that's about. In fact, I think I might even be able to show you. Here's you can see I have another water pump right there, and it actually stopped working. So there's the same thing as the end of that, and you can kind of see inside of there the impeller's not in there, and there's actually a rubber seal. There's a rubber seal that's supposed to go right here. It's on the back of this right now. So anyways, yeah, that's my setup. I have a water pump. So I'm gonna get this set up. I put this end inside the fuel tank. So this is the intake, and you can see I put a little screen on there as a filter so that it's not picking up any junk that might be inside the fuel tank. And you can see it's just on a barb that I've got a hose clamp on, and then I've got basically just a hose connection here, and that's a barb on the end there. So there's a barb right here going in the hose as well, and there's hose clamps on each end of that. And then I've just got a stopper on this end, so I just do that so it's just not leaking fuel in here. So I'll just take that out. A little harder to do one-handed, so I usually just set that there. Next thing I do is in the toolbox, got a few tools, but I got a screwdriver, and what I do is screw these guys in really quick, and when I get done I'll loosen those as well. So I'm first going to fuel up the boat, and that's probably only going to take around 10 minutes. And while it's doing that, I'm going to pop the cover in the boat and a few other things in the boat. Once it's done fueling the boat, I'm just going to take I'm going to stop it, take the end of the hose, put it in my truck, and then put what's left in my truck, or at least until it fills up my truck. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to try to set the camera up somewhere where you can see all that. Okay. All right, so my next step is to hop in the boat, turn it on so I can see the fuel gauge. All right, so when I hopped out of the boat, the gauge was on 84%, so it's probably around 90 right now. You can see I threw the cover in the boat. Normally if I had more to fill up, I would start cleaning the boat right now and just keep an eye on it. But I know it doesn't have much further to go, so I'm just gonna watch it and then switch it over to the truck. The truck I don't think even has a quarter of a tank in it, so I'll start cleaning the boat while I'm filling up the truck. Okay, so the boat is full now. So I'm gonna grab the hose from the boat, put it in my truck right here. For those of you who are wondering how much fuel this tank holds right here, which it goes across the width of the bed, and I'd say it's probably maybe 1.5 feet wide. It holds, it's rated at like, I want to say like 65 to 70 gallons, but I can only fit about 60 gallons in it without it coming out of the top, because this doesn't perfectly seal it. It allows it to vent too. And you know, if you're sitting on a hill like a boat launch ramp, and you've got this too full, it will leak fuel out of it. In fact, I had a mishap with it one time. I filled it to the tippy top, you know, probably 65 gallons, and then I parked on a launch ramp. There's a specific one up here that's a really long one, and because there was nobody out that day, it was a weekday. Came back and it had been leaking out the whole time we were gone, and it ate the paint off of my bumper. So I learned not to do that anymore. It does occasionally leak a little bit out still when I fill it up to 60 gallons, but it's usually very minimal because we're only on the launch ramp for a little while. So anyways, now I'll switch the hose over to the truck. And while I'm walking around with it, I tried to keep the hose above this level, or really somewhere above this level, so that way it doesn't just come out by gravity feed, which I think just by sitting here, because it's below the fuel line in the tank, it does do a little bit of a gravity feed once I put it in, but obviously it's very slow. So I have filled, I think, like a generator before just by gravity feeding it like that. Go ahead and start this back up. And now it's filling the truck. I'll go turn the truck on to where I can see the fuel gauge. And now I will get ready to start cleaning the boat. couple of rags. And one of my spray bottles. Alright, checking on the fuel gauge. It's almost at 3/4. Seven-eighths. Super close to being done, so I'm just watching it closely here. Okay. All right, done filling the truck, but I also did notice that this kind of started pulling some air. So I'm obviously pretty much at the bottom of the tank. Starting to get to a lower level. I bet you there's this much probably in the bottom of the tank, and I can sit here and move it around and suck up more if I needed to, but everything's full. So by the way, it's not a big deal if you start sucking a lot of air, because as long as that pump's getting just even a little bit of fuel, it's staying cool enough, so no worries there. So if I know I need more fuel in the boat or the truck than what's in here, what's left in here, then I simply will let it go and I'll move it around and try to get it all out. My truck is kind of parked kind of perfectly to where it should all be at this corner, so I can kind of angle it back at this corner. So now what I do is I just grab, I'll just grab this end. I leave the output end in the truck tank. I'll pick up this end and I'll start coiling it up and letting the fuel that's still in the line just flow, gravity flow into the tank. So that's what I'll do now. Whoops. You can see the fuel dripping out of it. I like to do this so it comes out down here quicker, and just tap that guy off, put your cap back on. There's the level of fuel right there. There it is. Through the pump. Okay. All right, it's all in. Cap back on. Come back here and undo these screws. Move that plate out. All right. All right, so that's it. That's how I fuel my truck and boat. I will need to put the cap back on in the truck, turn my truck off, roll out the window. I'll need to turn the boat off too, but I'll turn the boat off when I put the cover on, so when I get done cleaning. That's pretty much it. That's how I always fuel the boat. One of my tricks to saving extra time for the lake and less time getting there is I like to fill the boat up after the lake as opposed to on the way to the lake, so that it's always full. It also helps keep water out of your fuel if your fuel tank's full, because it gives it less room to collect moisture. So yeah, next weekend is 4th of July weekend, so I should have 3 possible days on the lake, just depending on weather. So I'm looking forward to that. But otherwise, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any thoughts on this video or ideas for future videos, please leave those in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and click on that notifications bell so you can be notified of my future videos. I'll see you next week.
Hey Wakely, what's your favorite thing about boating?
Watching Daddy surfboard.
Aww.
I like to watch him surfboard one time too. And I love Daddy so much.